Hi everybody, this is Dr. Kaushik Sengupta. I am the Online MBA Program Director at the Zarb School of Business at Hofstra University. I'm also a professor in the Department of Management in the Business School. And I have with me Jeff Mon. He is the Interim Director of all graduate programs for the Zarb School. And he and I together will be presenting this webinar tonight, right? So, you want to say hello?
Hello.
So Jeff is going to actually come in a little later on in the in this presentation, especially the admissions and some of the other details. So let me go through a few slides here, and then we will obviously entertain some questions towards the end of the session. That is. So normally I kind of start off this kind of a session like this with some of our recent rankings and a little bit of historical perspective on the Online MBA program. We are obviously accepting applications now for the fall 2014 admission cycle, and we only have a fall admission semester entry basically. So this will be the fourth cohort that we are going to admit this fall, and we started the program in fall 2011 as an extension of all the programs that we've had on campus for a significant number of years. So that's why it's kind of important for you all to know a little bit in terms of where we are in terms of the rankings and so on. And of course, the Online MBA program has been built on top of the bedrock of the regular MBA program, which is what the Bloomberg Business rankings are based on. So as you can see, in the last rankings, we were ranked in the top 50 and in the top 5 in the Northeast. And the U.S. News and World Report rankings, this is actually the 2014 rankings that just came out. And as you can see, we were ranked number 62. This is specifically for the Online MBA program. So if you go online and search for U.S. News World Report, best graduate online programs as a keyword search, you will get to their website where you will see this ranking. So this year we had actually improved our rank by almost 11-12 positions compared to last year. But it's also we're very proud of this at this point of time because number one, the program is still very new. We have just graduated one class last May, and we'll be graduating our second cohort this coming May. So we're hoping that once the second cohort graduates, this rank is actually even going to get better next year, that is. This year, actually, as you can see, a total of 237 total online programs are ranked as part of the survey, which was an 11% increase from last year. And U.S. News actually reported to us that close to 1,000 online programs participated in the survey, which is, as you can see, it was a 16% increase. So to be ranked number 62 out of close to 1,000 programs, I think is pretty impressive, and we're really proud of this. So I just wanted to point that out because when you decide on a particular program, of course you have to decide on, how the program is, program value is in terms of what it has to offer as part of the courses and the overall, structure of the program and all that combined. And the ranking goes, is obviously a good indicator of the quality of the program, that is. So having said that, let me just give a little bit of overview on this in terms of what we have as part of the program structure. So I'll give you a little bit of idea about the program structure and then get into a little bit of the courses and then of course the admissions criteria and so on. So this is a 2-year ASSB accredited cohort program, and the way we define a cohort is essentially that if you start in a particular semester, and as I said, it's only the fall semester where we have a program start essentially. So if you start on a particular fall semester, if you stay in the sequence in terms of what we tell you to take in terms of the courses, the prescribed sequence, that is, then you will complete the program in 2 years. All right, so that's what the cohort program means. And essentially that also means that you have the flexibility to opt out of the cohort after the first semester. If you say that you want to reduce course load, then you can go to that. And of course the trade-off is it's going to take longer than 2 years to complete the program. So essentially there is a flexibility built into the program in terms of providing you the opportunity to finish your MBA within 2 years, or if you want a reduced load to take longer than 2 years, we actually allow you up to 5 years to complete the program. If you want to do it that way, then that option is also available. We also, by design, have limited the enrollment cap to 25 people, so that's going to be our enrollment cap for this fall. So if you're really interested in the program and interested in applying and possibly enrolling, then I would suggest to you that make the application happen as soon as possible, because once the cap is reached, we will stop admissions for this particular year, basically. The way the program is also designed and the way it is structured at this point of time is that whatever we do on campus for our regular program on the campus is basically the same level of quality in terms of the courses. Most of the faculty members who are teaching in the online program are also teaching on campus. So we treat the program as an extension of what we have here in Long Island, basically on Long Island, that is. And essentially we are just using the online delivery mode as just a different way of imparting the same value through the MBA program. We have 2 concentrations that are fully online. I'm going to go into some details on that. There are some other concentrations available as a hybrid option if you are interested in that. And there is a separate admissions process just for this program. There are certain transfer possibilities. If you want to transfer to the evening regular MBA program, that is possible, but under certain conditions. All right. And we do not distinguish just based on the philosophy of what we think the online program is going to be. The degree that you get in this program is the same MBA degree as you get in the on-campus program. So there is no distinction as such that you're doing an online MBA degree, because we just feel you're getting the same degree, except the delivery mode is online. So they are not different courses. They are the same set of courses, except for the 2 concentrations, which are actually very specific to the online program. And these are actually some of our better concentrations that we have in the overall basket of programs that we have. All right. So the program structure is essentially, if you stay, again, this is the cohort plan. And if you stay in the cohort plan, you could do this within 2 years, as we were saying before. If you stay in the cohort plan also, you're going to be doing 2 courses at a time, 4 courses every semester, and 7-week-long courses. So usually the way this is structured is the first 7 weeks of the semester are the first 2 courses. Then you have a 1-week break. Then you go to the second 2 courses, and you finish up the 4 courses for the semester. We do have a couple of mandatory residencies on campus. So this is the other part of the structure where we said we don't want to just have a bunch of online courses and kind of combine them together and say this is our online MBA program, because we want you as an online MBA student to have a physical relationship to the campus in a way that you come here for a couple of times during the program itself. So we do this through the residencies. There's an orientation residency for about 3 days at the end of August before the program begins. Usually this is scheduled on a Friday, Saturday, Sundays kind of a schedule, so that you can minimize the disruption to the overall work schedule and so on. So usually we'll start and do this about a week before the classes start, which usually starts after the Labor Day. There's an ending residency at the end of the 2 years, so that's a capstone residency. And there are additional optional 1-day on-campus sessions that are held, at the beginning of each semester. And incidentally, the 2 cohorts that are going through the program, the fall 2012 cohort, they are in the second year of the program. Actually, they'll be finishing up this May. And the fall 2013 cohort, who started last fall, they were both on campus this past Saturday for this 1-day residency. All right. And in the 1-day residency, what we do, and also the orientation residency, and I'll come to some of the details, there are quite a few sessions that we end up doing as part of these events on campus, that is. We also have the global practicum, which is an international trip. This is also mandatory as part of the program, because one of the focuses of one of the main focus, I would say, of the online MBA is the global strategic management. So essentially, we want to kind of anchor all the courses and the academic content in the global perspectives of business. And we feel that a practicum, from going to a different country, let's say, or 2, for a period of 10 days really makes sense from the overall value perspective of the program. And if you research a little bit on some of the better ranked online MBA programs, you'll see that most of these programs have such a component in it, because obviously having a global perspective to the business is such a necessary thing to do today in this day and age, basically. So you can see there are a few components where we would need your presence basically on a face-to-face setting. But if I look at a 2-year cohort program, if you look at the 2 mandatory residencies and the global practicum, we're essentially in total talking about probably not more than 2 weeks of face time over the 2 years. So we feel that's a reasonable time frame in which which you should be able to spend away from wherever you are located and be here on campus or on the global practicum and add value to the overall program that way. So the courses are all online other than these residencies. You're obviously saving on your commuting time. As I mentioned, they are taught by full-time faculty members only, so you're getting essentially the same faculty members who are teaching on campus. And we call these courses as asynchronous courses. And what I mean by that is we're not, for the most part, asking you to come online during a particular time of the day or day of the week. The courses are all asynchronous, which means the materials are available to you online, obviously, and you can do the work depending on your own schedule, understanding that there will be deadlines throughout the week for the course, because many are actually, all of the courses have a lot of interactive components in them. And what we try to do is interact in the sense of you're interacting with the rest of the class, you're interacting obviously with the professor, there will be certain group work involved in many of these courses, so there will be deadlines during the week which you have to meet obviously. But beyond the deadlines, you can decide on your own schedule if you want to work on it every 2 hours in the evenings or so on, or if you say, okay, I have time off from work on a certain day of the week and that's when I want to get through most of the material. As long as you're meeting the deadlines as per the course requirements, then you should be okay doing that. It's the same rigor and content as on-campus courses. Remember what we said, each course is 7 weeks long. This is usually half the time of what we have in a semester-long course, which is about 15 weeks long. So just because it's half the time doesn't mean we're cutting out any content. It's actually the same content and rigor that you'd get. It's quite a rigorous program because you're going through a semester-long course in essentially half the time. But because you're focusing on 2 courses at a time, it has worked out for the most part for any of the current and former students, that is. So the courses are all completely online. There is actually, because of the structure of the asynchronous structure and and the fact that you have the 7-week time period to go through a course, makes it quite flexible for most people to figure out what's the best time of the day and day of the week when they can get through the material. So again, based on experience from the past 3 groups, for the most part it has worked out okay for I would say all the students that are in the program, with the understanding that there is a significant amount of rigor and content that are delivered in these courses, that is. So when I say the courses, the components are mixed here. As you can see, there's a combination of a lot of multimedia components, audio and video lectures. The discussion forums with the rest of the class and with the instructor is very, very interactive. Usually we do some case discussions in quite a few of these courses. Some of the professors use a collaborative session, and when I say collaborative session, it means a live session where we might get together as a class for about an hour during the week. And so in the overall scheme of how much time you need on a course, the one hour per week or so on the live component is really a very small component of the overall asynchronous nature of the course, that is. And if we do that, then again, depending on what the professor may want to do, sometimes we end up discussing cases, sometimes we discuss concepts, but essentially it gives you a forum to kind of come together as a class for that about 1 hour or so during the week and so on, or sometimes during the weekend, depending on how the schedule works out. We use a lot of features like wikis and blogs through the course management system that we use. Of course, submission-wise, assignment-wise, there are individual papers, group papers. People actually do presentations online using some of the tools that we have. There is a significant amount of work that is part of the group work in some of these courses, and there are some tests and quizzes which are done on a regular basis. So you can see if you look at the entire list, it's pretty comprehensive in terms of the course content and some of the different features that are used. And I would say across the the number of courses that we have in the program. That is, if I look at this list, most of the courses are actually using, at some of these features obviously, and most of these features, if I look at all the courses across the program, that is. So let me come to the orientation residency. As I said, it's about 3 or 4 days on campus over a weekend in August. And there's quite a few things we end up doing over these 3 or 4 days, which is why we make this mandatory for everybody who's going to join the program in the fall. You get introduced to the program. You know the success factors in terms of what it takes to succeed in a rigorous program like this. Obviously, if you have not done online learning before, you get to know a little bit of the online pedagogical approach. You also get to meet the faculty who are teaching the courses. And usually what we end up doing is we schedule about a 1-hour session with each faculty member that's teaching the courses in that particular semester. So this becomes kind of the introductory session for that particular course. You meet all the other faculty teaching in the program, senior administrators, and so on. One of the things, as I said before, is we kind of value the fact that we do have an on-campus kind of a service-based program here on campus. And we want to obviously make everything that the regular MBA students on campus have to the online MBA students. So you do get an introduction to career services. We do have a dedicated group for the Zarb school at the graduate level. And they do a session during this residency. So if any of you would be looking for, career services related help and guidance, that service would be available to you. There are a few workshops and interactions with industry executives. And then the other part is obviously you're networking with the alums, understanding overall the systems and policies. And this is the overall, takeaway from the orientation, that you get to network with your cohort. At the end of the 3 or 4 days, you would know exactly who the other people are in the program. So when you go back out of online, you'll know exactly who's the person you're talking to on the computer, basically. All right. So that, given our experience over the past 3 years, this residency has been very, very helpful to the incoming class. So, so obviously that is why it's a mandatory component here. And we would want each student to be here for those 3 days so that you're part of the cohort, you know everybody else, you know the faculty members, and you just are at a much more better comfort level after you've done these 3-day residency before you start the first 2 courses. All right. So just an idea about the orientation residency. The global practicum is another important component, as I mentioned before, and I just want to give you some examples of what we have done over the past couple of years. So the first online MBA cohort that got admitted in fall 2011 went to China in 2012. So as you can see, we visited Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Beijing. And we saw some major companies like Walmart in China, for instance, Morgan Stanley in Hong Kong, Lenovo and IBM in Beijing, a couple of other companies in Guangzhou, and this is not the complete list. This is just a representative list. So you can see we met some of the, the executives there. We met with the Morgan Stanley Asia Pacific CFO in Hong Kong, the Think Center marketing manager in Beijing at Lenovo, and then a few other things. Incidentally, the Walmart Sam's Club establishment in Shenzhen is area-wise the world's largest Sam's Club, and so there were a lot of interesting business aspects to kind of talk about, to do the tour of the facility, to talk to the executives there, and so on. And of course, visiting the cultural aspects were important. So visiting the Great Wall, the Tiananmen Square, and so on. One of the big pieces to the global practicum is that, and actually personally I have been on these global practicums for the last 2 years, and I would say from my own personal experience that it's a really nice way to immerse yourself culturally into a completely different environment. And of course, we're talking China in 2012, to understand how businesses are done, how to interact with the culture, how the people are behaving to you or reacting to you. That is, it's just a completely different experience, and students do come back with a totally different perspective. So one of the things that we do is we have an international business course in the curriculum, and the faculty member from marketing department who teaches that course is on the practicum, because there is a linking between what we see on the trip to what he does in his course, basically. And you can see his comment here that, you know, the cross-cultural business skills, that is, and the learning experience, and the fact that most business today has to have the global perspective, it just gives you a totally different perspective to this aspect of doing business, which you would not get in any course, basically. So it has become an intricate kind of a component to this. And again, the way this is structured is usually we go from a weekend to the following weekend. So we would usually leave here on a Friday, and we spend that the following week on the trip, and we are back here the following weekend, basically. So it's usually a 9 to 10 day trip, and of course that means you have to take off from work for about a week. But again, in the realm of this being a 2-year program, we feel that this is a significant value add, which which would allow you to take that week off from work and basically participate in this practicum. So this past summer we were in Japan, and again you can see we visited 4 cities, Tokyo, Yokohama, which are actually sister cities, and then Kyoto and Osaka. And again, some major companies we visited there, like Toshiba. Japan Post is actually the equivalent of the US Postal Service. Morgan Stanley again. We do have a significant component now in healthcare in the program. So there were some specific visits in the healthcare settings, like the couple of hospitals we went to, the pharmaceutical company that we went to, and so on. And again, similar cultural immersion trips to traditional sites in Old Tokyo, and the Kamakura site, which is a holy site, and Kyoto is actually the original, ancient capital in Japan, basically. So again, a very similar experience with the group when they went to Japan, and we'll see where the fall 2014 cohort goes in the summer of next year, summer of 2015. Usually what we do is we give the group a couple of options, and then we decide as a group what is the preference among the group, and then we kind of go from there. So right now the planning for 2014, as you can see, we try to change the destination every year, and we just decided this past Saturday that we're going to be in South Africa for this coming summer, specifically in Cape Town and Johannesburg. So again, this is still being worked on, so there's obviously no photos yet because we haven't been there yet. So, but eventually, yes, when we do make the trip, then there'll be some additional details filled in there. So you can see what we do. The other thing that we have done is going forward, every year that we embark on a global practicum like this, we actually invite the past alums of the program, and I just invited the fall 2011 cohort who graduated from the program last May to kind of join us in South Africa at cost, basically. And at least I think I've gotten emails from at least 2 of them saying they're thinking of joining us. So you will have the option to participate in future global practicums. Obviously, the group actually would want to go to more than one destination. So one option this year was South Africa. The other option was to go back to China, and the majority vote was to go to South Africa. But a sizable number wanted to go to China, but that will open up again in the subsequent years. Let me talk about the 2 major concentrations. So one is in strategic business management, and the listing that you see here are the 5 concentration courses in the area. So the way the MBA program is structured is it is a 48 credit hour program, and out of that, and that actually is a total of 17 courses that you have to go through. Of the 17, 12 are what we call our core curriculum courses, all right? And so irrespective of your concentration, you're going to take those 12 courses. And then the remaining 5 are these concentration courses. So you can see from a global strategic business management perspective, these courses are talking about corporate financial policy, strategic accounting, management of innovation, strategic information resources, and strategic planning and marketing. So they're all focused on the global strategic perspective of businesses. So that's how the concentration is kind of made up. This is actually the first concentration we started off with in the program back in fall 2011. In fall 2012, we started the healthcare concentration, which is in strategic healthcare management, as you can see. And the 5 concentration courses here are multifunctional courses, essentially relating to the recent and upcoming developments in the industry. So there is as you can see, there's a marketing course, there's an HR course, a finance, a legal course, and an IAS course in the area. So again, to give you the perspective, but obviously concentrated in the healthcare industry. Now we also have the option, if any of you would want to take a different concentration other than these two. So we do have offerings in concentrations in finance, marketing, IT, and so on, but these are all available on campus. And since we don't have the bandwidth to offer all of these concentrations online, of course this will only work if you're geographically close to the Hempstead campus in New York, basically. And if you are, then you do have the option to take any of these other concentrations that are available. The switch is allowed under permission and advisement, and you may have to take 5 electives, but one of the electives can be taken online from the online major, but the other 4 have to be taken on campus, which is not a bad deal if you are geographically located close enough to the campus, because usually the classes here on campus meet once a week on the evenings. So it works out, and there's a few folks from the current fall 2012 cohort who are doing this actually. So let me turn it over to Jeff for this particular slide, and since he looks at the admission process more intently than I do, because we actually do a team review of any applications that are submitted for this program, but I'll let him talk to the admission requirements for the program.
Okay, so all application materials must be submitted online. So the online application can be found by going to hofstra.edu. There's a button for admission on the main site. Then under that, there's a button that says apply. You would go to graduate, and you're on your way. Students who are applicants who start their online application within 48 hours of this webinar will have the $70 application fee waived. All you need to do to have the application fee waived is start the online application, meaning just entering in your demographic information. If for whatever reason you decide not to complete the online application, there's no penalty. You can just let us know that you're no longer interested, and we can withdraw your information. But on the other hand, if you do want to take advantage of the application fee waiver, again, all you need to do is start the online application within 48 hours. You don't need to complete it within 48 hours. A benefit that we have for the Online MBA program is that it is possible to have the GMAT or GREs waived. The GMATs or GREs are required for our other MBA programs. There's very few exceptions in the other MBA programs where it could be waived. Such exceptions would be is if you have a PhD, if you're an MD, if you have a JD, a Juris Doctorate, if you already have a graduate business degree from an AACSB accredited school, situations like that. For the Online MBA program and the Executive MBA program, which is separate, these are the only programs that it is possible to have the GMATs or GRE requirement waived based off of your work experience. What we're looking for is 5+ years of managerial experience with progressive roles. When you submit your application, after we've received all the required application materials, your resume and your work experience would be reviewed. You would either phone in for an interview, or if you're local, you can come in person to meet with us, and at that point we would determine whether or not the GMATs or GREs would be waived. For the resume, standard resume, for the personal statement, it's about 1 to 2 pages discussing why you're looking to go for get a graduate business degree and your career goals and objectives. For the recommendations, again, everything's submitted online. You would have to upload your, you would enter in the contact information for your 2 evaluators. The online application will send them an email notification with instructions on how you can submit your on how they can submit the recommendations online. So you won't mail anything in, and they wouldn't mail anything in either. Everything is digital. For your transcripts, we would need your undergraduate transcripts for all the schools that you attended and receive credit towards your undergraduate degree. So if you went to one school for a year or two, transferred to another school, we would need the transcripts from both schools. If you're accepted to the Online MBA program or to any of our graduate business programs, then at that point, all you would need to do is submit the official transcript with proof of degree from the school that granted your bachelor degree. But for the purposes of the online application, you will upload unofficial copies of your transcripts. If you still have access to your transcripts online, all you need to do is print those out, upload those with your online application. If you don't have access to that, you can have your school mail your transcripts to you directly. Again, then all you would need to do is scan that and, again, upload that with your online application. For international students, if you're not a U.S. citizen, then you would also be required to submit TOEFL or IELTS scores. The exceptions for that would be if you're an international student that received your undergraduate degree from a U.S. school or from a school located in a country where the official language is English, such as the U.K., South Africa, Australia, etc. And then again, this would also involve a phone conversation with the director, Dr. Sengupta. Once all of your application materials, again, are uploaded with your online application, you'll be able to submit it, and we will start the evaluation process right away. As Dr. Sengupta mentioned earlier, we have a cap of 25 students for the fall 2014 incoming class. Once we reach that limit, we are not going to be able to accept any new students. If you would regularly be admissible, we may put you onto a wait list if a student, for whatever reason, has withdrawn from the program. Otherwise, if we feel that you would be a good fit for the program, we may have to defer your acceptance until the following year. So I'll transfer.
Thanks, Jeff. So just to add to what Jeff was mentioning, it's very important for us to, because again, as I was saying before, this is a rigorous program, and we want obviously everybody who is in the program to succeed in the program. And so it's very important that we find the right fit, and from your perspective as an applicant and then eventually a student, that is. And so when we look at an application, we're kind of looking at it holistically with all the credentials that you submit, including the resume with your work experience, and then your personal statement, and of course your 2 letters of recommendation and your previous academic performance. So it's not one of them singularly dominates any of the other ones, and so we look at an application in totality basically, and therefore when we complete the review, I usually have a phone conversation with each applicant, because again, it gives me a chance to kind of talk to each applicant first and then see where he or she is in terms of their thinking, in terms of the application and the program, and also to answer any questions that you may have at that point of time. And it usually has gone pretty okay. And as Jeff was mentioning, once you submit an application, it takes a few days for us to review the application, but essentially, basically what we are talking about is that essentially once you get the application in, we will try to get you a decision as soon as possible. I see we have a few questions from some of you, so while we are at this, I'm trying to answer this. So one question is, when is the deadline to have the app in for the fall? Actually, we don't have a deadline. We have a rolling admissions, which essentially means you can apply until the enrollment cap is reached, essentially. And I'll just give you an idea. Last year, I think we had reached the cap sometime in June. We do have, as I said, the classes start in the fall. Depending on your previous academic background, we do have a remedial statistics workshop that we start in the summer. Last year, I think we started this sometime end of June or so. This year, we have planned to start it around mid-June. So by the time we actually were in July last year, everybody who were in fall 13 cohort were in the program, basically. So, again, and the one more question, how many slots of the 25 remain? Essentially, what we are saying is that we don't, this is a very hard question to answer at this point. It's still January, so there are quite a few number of spots available, but we also have filled up quite a few spots in terms of meeting that particular cap. And because there are multiple applications in different stages of the review process, including some where we have made offers but we haven't heard back from them yet. It's very difficult to tell you as to how many slots are there. Jeff, you want to add something?
Yes, to secure a spot in the for the online MBA program, obviously, just as any program, we would offer more admissions than we do have spots. So to secure your spot, to secure your eligibility and your seat in the fall 2014 class, it's based off of when a deposit is received. Now, up until, I'm sorry, the deposit is $500.
I'm going to come to that.
For, I'm sorry, I'll let Dr. Sengupta.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the details on that. And then also one question, I already started the application. Am I eligible for the application fee waiver? I think yes, as part of attending the webinar, if you started it. Because
if you start the online application within 48 hours of this webinar, then yes, you certainly are eligible for the fee waiver, and that is that's determined by the that's a policy put together by the Office of Graduate Admissions, which is outside of us. But we will forward everybody's information who is in attendance of the webinar today to their office to make sure that the fee waiver is applied. But you do need to start the online application within 48 hours.
Okay, I'm going to get to some of the other questions as we go through the the remaining piece of information here. So this was the program cost for last year. There might be a little bit of adjustment for fall 2014, but this is an all-inclusive program, which means that your tuition is covered, the cost of the course materials are covered, and we are covering all the course materials in the spirit of this being an online program. Everything is in the e-format. The global practicum is completely covered, and that includes your airfare, your ground package, your hotels, and everything else essentially. All the domestic residencies are also covered except for travel, because we don't know where people are originating from. So once you're here, all the costs will be covered as part of the domestic residencies. And I think Jeff was alluding to this, that if you make the application, submit it completely, and get admitted into the program, and you make the deposit by end of March, you have an early admission deposit of $500. After that time, that date, it will be a regular admission deposit of $1,000. And the total program cost is actually allocated across actually it's 5 semesters we're talking about. So you start in fall 2014, then you have spring 2015. There's 2 courses in the summer, then the following fall, and then the spring of the next year. So essentially, we have 5 semesters of courses, and depending on the number of credits you're taking in a particular semester, you will, the total cost is kind of allocated from that perspective. That is, we also are a Yellow Ribbon participant, which means that essentially anybody who is from the active military or previous military kind of an environment, we are participant in that. So whatever the tuition benefits and things like that are a part of that Yellow Ribbon Standard program is also included here. So, and we have actually a few applicants this year from this particular background. So, so yes, if you are qualified to avail of those benefits, please let us know, and we'll work accordingly. Essentially, all right. Let me give a little bit of idea about the last 3 cohorts. So as I was saying before, fall 2011 was our first cohort, and we had about 18 students, and 16 out of 18 essentially means that we admitted 18, 16 people graduated this past May. Experience was from 5 years to 25 years, and you can see the location was mostly tri-state. Again, tri-state is spread out, obviously New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So we had a few students from New Jersey, at least a couple of students I remember from Connecticut. The same with the fall 2012 cohort, 18 students, all 18 are currently in the program, and the experience level is actually 5 to 30 years. And the SBM stands for Strategic Business Management. The SHCM is for the healthcare concentration. And you can see we have people from one student, two students from Virginia, one student who actually is based in Kazakhstan for part of his work. He does field work for one of the oil and gas companies. And of course, we have international student from Canada also. Fall 13, which was our last cohort, basically again you can see we admitted 22 students, and remember we said 25 is the cap. We actually had hit the cap last year in June, but then 3 students actually deferred to this year, so that's why we are at 22, and 13 and 9 was the split between the 2 concentrations. And you can see there's a couple of students again from outside of the tri-state area. Actually, we have 2 students from Virginia, 1 from Missouri, and again quite a few handful of students from Connecticut and from New Jersey. So again, we're finding that people who would have looked at us as a school to do the MBA program would most of the students would not have been able to do it if we did not have the online MBA program. So even if you are from the New York area, we have quite a few people who are based out of Manhattan, for instance, and usually it becomes very difficult for people to come here to Long Island to take a class on campus because our graduate classes start at 6 o'clock in the evenings. So there are quite a few people who are from Manhattan who would not have been able to go on campus for the program, and that's why they are in the online program basically. All right, and we'll see what happens with your the fourth cohort, assuming that some of you would be in the cohort. We'll see what the the criteria is, or the profile of the group is. So let me get to a few of the other questions that have come up actually. And I see one question is, do online students have access to the library and other facilities on campus? And yes, you do, because as I was mentioning before, the idea that when we started the program that this was going to be an extension for what we do on campus. So if you are physically close to the campus, geographically that is, then you can take advantage of any of the facilities that we have here. Career services, a lot of the services are available online, but of course the other ones are on campus. And usually what we end up doing is when you're here for the orientation residency in August, you're going to get a Hofstra ID, so you can access any of the facilities, including the gym, the library, and everything else that we have, on campus. That is one other question. How much do we pay up front? Of course, the deposit is the initial deposit. If you get admitted and you make the decision to join by end of March, that's a $500 deposit up front, and then the rest of the stuff comes when you start the courses in the fall. After March 31st, it's a $1,000 deposit. One additional question here, how far back will you transfer credits from another school? Jeff, you want to answer that?
Yes, if we can transfer credits from another AACSB accredited school for the past 5 years. So as long as you've taken an equivalent course to one of our graduate programs within the past 5 years from an AACSB accredited school for the MBA program, we can transfer in a maximum of 9 credits.
I think that answers the question. So, and we do this on a case-by-case basis. We have to look at what your other courses were and then decide whether it is transferable or not, right?
To see if it's an equivalent of one of the courses that we offer here.
So that's the idea. Let me go to the questions again. Is the online and the classroom MBA considered as the same degree? Yes, it is. We are not distinguishing between the 2 degrees because, again, from a design and pedagogical perspective, we just feel that it is the same program that you're getting. It's just being delivered online, essentially. All right, so it is the same degree. There's no mention of it that it's an online program. One other question: what month in the summer is the international trip generally held? This is usually held in July. So this year we are, I think, scheduled for the 3rd week of July to early August. So, you have 2 summer courses which get done somewhere around July 10th, thereabout, and you get a 2-week break. There's actually a component we're doing now, starting this year, which is a cross-cultural component, which is part of our international business course. And what we're doing there is 1 week, we're going to start that 1 week component from the international business course from the fall before the trip. and we embark on the trip on the 3rd week of July and then come back, as I said, early August. Can we submit more than 2 letters of recommendation? Yes, you surely can. There's no limitation on that, but we need a minimum of 2 letters for us to review the application. And we're not going to start the review of your application until we get at least 2 letters, but you surely can submit more than that. Is it possible to apply to both the online and the on-campus program? At the same time, no. You're applying to a specific program, but if you tell us that you want to switch, then we'll work with you to make sure that that happens, right?
So a student who is admitted into the Online MBA program, especially if they are admitted into the Online MBA program based off of their work experience, and that may want to switch into the on-campus Online MBA program, that student would be required to take the GMATs or GREs if they do want to switch into the on-campus program. But yes, you cannot apply to more than one program at a time. I suggest all students or all prospective applicants to apply to the program that you're most interested in, receive an admissions decision from there, and then if you find that that is not the right program for you and want to have your application reviewed for another program, we can certainly do that, but you can only apply to one program at a time.
And I should just add to that if the GMAT is waived for you for the online program, and if you decide to switch to the on-campus program, the GMAT is a standard requirement for that program. So you will need to submit the GMAT if you do transfer. Okay, we have a long question here, so I'm going to read this out to everybody. So based on what you have stated, this is the question, I guess, from one of the attendees, right? I guess it has to be because there's a question there. So the person is asking, if I'm offered acceptance into the program and I'm ready to place the down payment, then even if there were 20 other candidates ahead of me that were offered a seat in the class, if my deposit is made before theirs, then will I secure my seat in the program? I think that's a good question to ask.
By deposit.
It's by deposit is how we do it, basically. So at this point, and this is what we did last year, we controlled the number of admission offers that went out at any point of time and how many outstanding offers were out there. So you're not going to have a situation where there's like 40 offers out there and only 25 seats. So, but it's always going to be by deposit, essentially, is how we decide who gets into that cap, basically.
So if there are, say, 35 acceptances that have been offered, it would be the first 25 students that submit a tuition deposit that would secure a seat in the incoming class. Any student that would submit a deposit after that point it would be a wait list on preference if one of the first 25 decided to drop and defer to the next semester. Otherwise, you would have one of 2 options. If the cohort is filled and you've submitted a deposit, we can either apply that deposit to the following year, or if you're not interested in that, of course your deposit would be refunded if we're not able to offer you a seat.
Okay, one more question here. Who can we contact to inquire about scholarship opportunities with the online program? We don't have any scholarship opportunities as such for the program, but there are the financial aid packages that are available. So once you do get admitted to the program, we will get you in touch with the Office of Financial Aid to do that, basically. One additional question here, is it possible to do the Masters in Nursing while in this program? It's like taking a dual degree. I would say no, because given, especially if you're in the cohort plan, you will really have no time to do an additional degree. There is no dual program scenario at this. If you can do 2 programs at the same time on your own, like you could be admitted in 2 programs, I guess, but the workload in the MBA is not going to allow you to do the other degree at the same time, basically. Additional question, when do you bill? How often are there summer courses? I guess the bill goes out once a semester at the beginning of the semester, and obviously so there's a bill for each semester. And yes, there are 2 summer courses that are done as part of the program in the same type of 7-week kind of schedule. Okay, one more long question here. I'm going to read this out. Is there any way you can post a sample course schedule on the web page that includes assignment descriptions and deadlines? I believe this will help potential students envision how well they will be able to manage the course load. That's a very good question, actually, and a good suggestion, actually. We might think about doing this on the website for the program. By the way, I have this slide up here. Hofstra.edu/online MBA gets you to the website for the program. But to answer your question, I will actually make a point to put something up there like that. Now, I should just tell you, I myself teach in this program in the first fall semester. So based on my experience with my course, which is the Operations and Supply Chain course, essentially what I would tell you is it's a pretty packed schedule. For my course, at least, there are assignments that are due. Usually we make assignments due during the weekends. There would be, I would say, probably between a case and an exercise or something else, there's probably anywhere from 2 to 3 assignments done every week. All right, so and it's a pretty packed schedule for the 7 weeks. Of course, as you can imagine, some of these are done in groups. Some, like the discussion forums, would need you to participate. Let's say make a posting by the Wednesday of the week, make another posting by the Friday of the week, and then by Sunday of the week. So there is a kind of a graduated or a phased out schedule for some of those components, but it will be determined based on the course load, basically, or the course structure for the particular course. But if this person wants to know a little bit more, please email me with this specific request, and I could actually send you some information on this course load aspect. But I would tell you that all of the 3 cohorts and the students in the 3 cohorts are all working professionals, and this is a legitimate question: how much is the workload? And just to give you a ballpark estimate, I would tell you that if you take 2 courses at a time, which you will in the cohort plan. By the way, I should have also mentioned to you that the cohort plan and the option to go out of the cohort with the reduced course load, a significant majority of the student cohort actually stays in the cohort. And the fall 2012, the people who are in their second year, I believe out of the 18 students, there is only 2 students who have, actually not 2, just 1 person who has gone out of the cohort in a reduced load format. And the people who are in the fall 2013, last year's admits, are all in the cohort still. So, and the main reason they tell me as to why they remain in the cohort is because they know one another so well. They just want to, do the courses with the same group, and most of them have budgeted the next 2 years for the MBA. So, so that's what they want to spend time on, essentially. So it has been manageable. So, but I tell you, from a workload perspective, if I take the equivalent course on campus, which meets for 15 hours, 15 weeks, usually meets 2 hours and 20 minutes once a week. So you're looking at about 35-hour contact time for a course. And that is done over 7 weeks. So you're talking about 5 hours per week. And it's not a straight one-to-one comparison because the online courses are done in a slightly different way compared to the on-campus course. But even if you do an apple-to-apple comparison, say 5 hours per course, and you're taking 2 courses, so that's 10 hours a week. And then you take an additional, depends on how much time it will take you to do the materials and so on. And I always say this, on a ballpark estimate, you're probably looking at about 14 hours a week, which is about 2 hours per day on an average, that is. And assume that this is an average kind of approximation, because every semester you're going to have a different set of courses, so the workloads are going to vary. The nature of the courses are going to be different. So you cannot really have a ballpark, a very accurate estimate how much time you're going to spend. But it is a rigorous program, yes, and there's no 2 ways about it. All right. Let me get to the other questions. But again, coming back to the course schedule, if you can please email me, I will respond to you separately. Recommended prep classes before start of the cohort? Not really. I mean, you're going to have the stats workshop if you haven't had a stats course in the last 5 years. So that will be all the prep you need. If I graduate from Hofstra, can my transcript be obtained internally, or do I need to? No, you don't need to.
Well, here's what happens. You will need to upload your transcript, but please, if you don't have access to your online transcripts anymore, please send me an email. It is My email address is
on
actually
here.
jeffrey.d.mon@hofstra.edu. Send me an email, and I will print out your transcript and email it to you. So all you need to do is upload that with your online application. But if something does need to be uploaded in the transcript section, but again, I will be happy to help you out with that.
Okay, a couple of questions. We're almost getting to the end of the time here. Let me just read the question here. How many people apply annually on an average? I think last year we got about 60 to 70 applications. So we don't know. It's still end of January now, so we're not starting the program until September. I would tell you that the number of inquiries that we are receiving this year is significantly higher than what we did last year. But again, inquiries does not mean applications. So people inquire and then they decide to go forward and apply. It's very hard to say how many applications we end up with. But again, you can only apply for your case, obviously. If you're seriously interested in the program and want to get into the fall semester, then please do so as soon as possible. Is the application fee waiver only applicable if you apply to the online program? Will it work if I decide to apply to the on-campus?
Yes. If you, again, start the online application within 48 hours of now, the online application will be waived regardless of the program that you apply to. So if you do decide to apply to the online MBA program or the on-campus MBA or one of our MS programs, yes, the application fee will still be waived for attendees of this webinar.
Okay, two more questions here because we're getting to the end of the time. And again, our emails are on here. If you have additional questions after this webinar, please email us and we get back to you very quickly, or very promptly, that is. One question is more on the program layout. Is it a continuous courses for 2 years with a graduation in May? Not exactly. When you say continuous, it's not like there's no breaks. So usually as I said, you have the 2 courses in the first half of the semester, then you have a 1-week break, then you do the next 2 courses. In the first January, there is an additional algebra-related workshop that we end up doing, but it's over an extended period of time, so you do have a couple of weeks break over the winter holidays. Then you get into the spring, the same kind of structure there. There is a 1-week spring break in the middle of the semester. Then we go to the summer courses. After the summer courses are done, there's a 2-week break before we go to the global practicum. When you come back, after you get back from the practicum, you actually have the whole month off in August before we start the second fall semester. So and then the second January semester is completely off for you. So there are some breaks built in into the program layout, basically, depending on the structure that is. All right. Let me get to one question. This is a concern from one of the attendees. Since there's a control number of people who are offered acceptance into the program, how long are these offers left open? We usually give a 3-week time window once the offer goes out. And this is what we have done again last year, which is once we get closer to filling up the cap, we actually reduce that window to 2 weeks and then eventually to 1 week, basically. So my concern is that other qualified students will be prevented from applying due to those who that is always the case. We can't obviously know in terms of what the future pool is going to be over the next 2 or 3 months. Again, you can only talk to your own application. I would always say the same thing. Again, there are sufficient number of seats available at this point of time. So if you're really interested, that please make the application happen. And
so just to follow up on what Dr. Sengupta said about that, if you are admitted, we do give you a 3-week window to consider the program, and within that time, in that 3-week window, if you do decide you are guaranteed admission if you submit the deposit in that time period. Outside of the 3-week period, it's contingent on when you submit the deposit.
And whatever applications came in or admission offers, acceptances came in. I'm just going to go to one last question. Is there a code I need or anything to prove I attended? You are already registered, and the fact that you are online, we have your attendance for this webinar, so I don't think we need anything else.
We will forward your information to the Office of Graduate Admissions first thing tomorrow morning so that they can update your records and make sure that the fee waiver is assessed.
And one final question here, are there any plans to expand the online concentrations in the near future? At this point, no, because I think we're still in the infancy of the program, because this is the 4th cohort, and we are doing reasonably well with the 2 concentrations we have. But of course, geographically, if you are close to the campus, you have the other concentrations available to you. I don't know the person who's asking it where you are located, but again, if this is a possibility for you, that it has worked out for 3 of the students from the cohort that joined us in fall 2012. One person is doing an IT major, the second one is doing a finance major, the third one is doing a real estate major. And they have taken the classes on campus because, as I said, the classes are online. On-campus classes meet once a week. So if you're taking one course on campus, you're essentially here for once a week, which is not a bad deal, in the evening, that is.
And the courses are typically held from 6 to 8:20 or 8:30 to 10:50 for the on-campus courses.
So it has worked out. All right, so again, as we said, our emails are on there. You can also get our emails from the website. And if anybody wants to see a sample course demo, please email me. We do have a shell of a course available for you to see if you want to. So let me know, and then I'll get back to you shortly on that. And I'd like to thank you for attending tonight's webinar, and we hope that this has been useful. Of course, if you have additional questions, please let us know. All right, and we look forward to hopefully all of you who are attending are thinking of applying for this fall. All right, and again, as I said, please don't think about the limited cap and all that stuff. You cannot control that. All you can control is how soon you can make the application, if you are interested in applying, that is. So we hope to see your application.
Yes, and in this point of the application process, you have plenty of time to start the application, but you do want to be one of the first ones to get a decision. So you have first dibs, for lack of a better term, to gain admission and start the program this fall.
Thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you sometime in the fall, assuming you